I have felt like at times, like, all right, Mo, like, why don't you give Jake Browning a chance to at least give you the sort of season that you could enjoy as it unfolds? Because I think he's capable of doing that.
Yeah, and I mean, something I noticed and just occurred, really, you could feel it yesterday down at the building talking to Zach Taylor and Dan Pitcher and talking to Jake Browning after the game and all of that stuff. This is an incredibly important moment. Jake Browning has worked his whole life to have this chance to prove that he belongs and that he can play in this league, something that he believes strongly within himself, something that he's proven in his 7-game stretch before. Dan Pitcher didn't get an interview last year in the cycle. And despite an offense that blossomed in his first year and everything that Joe Burrow did, playing on MVP level and all that stuff, and Brian Callahan got passed over for years until when Jake Browning came in, they were able to make the offense look pretty good and be sustainable, and Jake had 70% completion rate and all that stuff, and suddenly he was the hot candidate and the head coach of the Tennessee Titans.
Right.
There was a bristling a little bit from Dan Pitcher yesterday of being like, this is like what we do as coaches. Every day, coaches are handed a new fire, right? Like that is that profession. And so they're able to take it, process it, and move forward with focus. And while people listening to this show and you and everybody else, like, that's not how it works. It's emotional and I'm mad and I want to place blame and everything. Yeah. But they're moving like this. We're moving this on. This is an opportunity for me as Dan Pitcher, as the Bengals, as Zach Taylor. Like, everybody in that building has a ton on the line the rest of this season. And it may feel empty right now as people assess Joe Burrow's toe and what all this means. But for everybody in that building, they're thinking, we can do something special here, something that people don't see coming. Right. Jake Browning feels that way. Zach Taylor feels that way. That defense feels that way. Like, there's a whole season where they feel like they can do something. And they're 2-0. And so why not start there and get it rolling now? So the energy that was notable to me coming out of the building yesterday of being like, we can go do something special. And it's fun to feel that way when you're 2-0 and you haven't played a game yet without Joe Burrow. Let's see what it sounds like in mid-November.
Right.
But, I think is a notable intensity that existed yesterday.
But you know what? If this was the first time this had happened, everything you just outlined would be exactly how I felt. Because my take would be, okay, over the course of his time in Cincinnati, he was probably going to suffer an injury. Probably one that was, lasted a while. This isn't, I don't think, something that's career-threatening. Like, okay, so let's see what Jake does. I wish I was there, but I'm not because of Sunday, but because of the recurrence of things like Sunday.